hold up, I am on my way, I'm in motion. Let's go to the ocean. Yeah, let's go outside. We can hang out on the beach without freezing. Yeah, isn't that amazing? In Christmas times.
Welcome to Crafty Beach. This is Julie, and I have a fun winter DIY video for you today using supplies from the Dollar Tree. So to get started, we're going to use one of these little wreath forms from the Dollar Tree. I think it's the bicycle wheel wreath form. It's going to be perfect for what we want to do, and you're going to need 6 of these little white Christmas trees from the Dollar Tree. This is why I told you guys to stock up the other day. I was able to just find these at my Dollar Tree, but you might have to visit more than one store to get 6. It is important that they're white, because what we're going to do with these is we're going to make a giant snowflake. So you're just going to need the tree part out of all of these. I'm going to go ahead and save all those stands because those are great stands. I'm sure I can use those for another DIY in the future. So we're going to make a 6-pointed snowflake. This is going to be pretty universal winter, this DIY. I do bring in a little coastal colors later on, but this would pretty much fit any decor. So we have all 6 of our little Christmas trees and our wreath form. Now, I'm just going to kind of put them together like this. And so I'll have to put a sign in the middle where there is no greenery. I didn't really want to overlap all the different poles into each other. I thought it would make it too bulky. So I kind of wanted everything to lay flat. I'm making a giant wall hanging for my front door. This would also be great on the front of your house or even your door. It actually turns out to be really large. So just using 3 zip ties, I zip tie that to one of the rungs of that wreath like that, sticking out in that direction. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the bottom. Now, I'm doing these kind of out of order because I want to do 6. So I should have skipped 1 and I skipped 2. So I'll realize that here in a minute. But I'm just zip tying 3 zip ties, just using clear zip ties so they'll kind of blend in. Now, if you're worried about like the color of the wreath form being visible, it isn't really, it's pretty much covered up, but you could always paint that white. So I got 3 on there. And I went to do the 4th one and I realized my mistake. I should have only skipped 1 instead of skipping 2. So I just took 1 off and I'm going to go ahead and fix that. Now I was just kind of seeing if that's going to cover the frame, and it did. So I should have skipped 1 like this. So I went ahead and took that one off and I'm moving it right here. And again, I zip tie like right at the base of the tree, all the way at the bottom, and then 1 like through the tree, which you kind of have to fish that through, zip tie, and tie that off on the back. And skipping 1, I do another one. That way there's 12 rungs on this thing, so we have 6, so we skip every other one. And we're going to have a giant, like a wreath snowflake. It turns out so cute. I really like this, and I was really impressed by the size. It looks great in my entryway. I actually took down the sign I had up for Christmas so I could actually go ahead and hang it to show y'all. So just finishing up the last few Christmas trees here. Once I get them all attached with zip ties, I do want to reinforce it just a little bit. So I'm going to flip it over here, and I was trying to think of something that could go right here in the middle. I decided a wood bead would fit perfectly, so I glue a wood bead down there so I have something to glue to, and I kind of glue the different trees to the wood bead just to provide a little bit more stability, doing some extra hot glue on top. Now all I have to do is open up all of these branches. I want it to be, flat on the back so it can hang on the wall, but I do kind of fluff it up. I do flatten it a little bit more than that to kind of give it more of that snowflake appearance. But I was just kind of trying to see if I could, open them up enough where you won't be able to see the frame, or if I need to go and paint that wreath form underneath. And it did cover it all up. You can't see the wreath form at all once I get it all open. And I will cover up all that center stuff that's going on with a Dollar Tree sign. So just fluffing all of these, like the very end is kind of long, so I had already pulled those out, but just pulling out all of the branches. And you can't beat a $1.25 Christmas tree. So it's filling in nicely. I kind of like overlap the different branches a little bit to make sure that it covers up that wreath form underneath. And this is what our giant snowflake looks like so far. Super cute. I thought about using this sign from the Dollar Tree. Aren't those cute? I just found that the other day. But I decided to do this one. I'm going to have this hanging in my entryway, so a hello sign would be perfect. And I picked this sign up at the Dollar Tree. I don't want that color, so we're going to go ahead and use some heat and a spatula from the Dollar Tree to remove that bow. And then I wanted to paint hello blue. I thought I would try this color. It's a Dollar Tree paint, and it's a pretty color of blue, but it was a little light. But let me show you how I'm doing it. I'm just doing it with a makeup sponge. I was trying to carefully, just paint that little top part, but I found like the hello word was so skinny, the depth of it, that I was still getting paint on my sign. So I was just using a baby wipe to try to remove some of that. And I did a couple coats, and I thought it was pretty. It's kind of an icy blue color, but I did want it to be a little bit more blue to go with some more of my decor. So I do add a little, this is lake blue to it, just to kind of bring out a little bit more blue. I just wanted it to be a little bit more contrast. And that looked pretty good. And I discovered if you don't push down on the sponge at all if you're going to paint with a sponge like that. Now for the ribbon, we're going to replace it with some of this blue snowflake ribbon from the Dollar Tree. And it had a simple bow on there before, and so that's exactly what we're going to do. We're just going to tie a simple bow, try to make sure that the snowflakes are visible there. And I'm just going to cut the ends of the ribbon to size once I get it arranged. And then I'm just going to attach that where the old ribbon was. So just a dot of hot glue. And then I wanted to decorate the sign a little bit more. And so I went and got some of those white glitter stickers, snowflake stickers from the Dollar Tree. I think these are so pretty. You guys have seen me use them in other DIYs, Christmas DIYs, but you could also use those wood ones that they have at the Dollar Tree. So I'm going to use a couple different sizes on this. The bottom I have a little bit more space, so I'm going to use the largest one down here, and I'm just going to kind of stick that to the sign. It's covered in white glitter, so I don't have to paint it or anything. It's just going to be, a really easy way to bring winter touch to this little sign. On the sides, I have a little bit less room, so I'm going to use some of the smaller sides ones over here. And now we just need to make a hanger for our snowflake wreath. So I'm just going to use a little bit of twine and pick any side to be your top and just tie a simple knot. And we have a simple little hanger that will not be visible when we hang it. And here is our giant snowflake, and this covers it pretty much perfectly. So I'm just going to do hot glue all along the edges. And while that's still wet, I'm going to push that down onto the Christmas trees, pushing down so I get lots of connection there for the hot glue to get that to stay on. Now I'm just going to arrange my branches a little bit to make sure that I don't see any of that wreath form. And that's pretty much all there is to this giant snowflake DIY. This turned out so cute. Everybody in the family loves how it turned out. And this is how it looks in my entryway. It takes up pretty much the whole wall above my console table. And so it's a great piece. Hey guys, I wanted to tell you I have a private Facebook group if you haven't joined. Love to see what you're crafting, and you can come see what everybody else is working on. I also have Instagram, TikTok, and Pinterest. And my handle is Crafty Beach on YouTube on all of those, and I would love to see you at any and all of those. Okay, next DIY, we're going to use one of these Christmas ornaments from the Dollar Tree, one of these vases from the Dollar Tree, one of these little battery-operated LED lanterns from the Dollar Tree, and some Dollar Tree white rope. This is the 11-foot nautical rope cotton. And I wanted to make, I've seen lots of people make the little light post DIYs, but I wanted to do my own take on it. So we're going to make ours into a lighthouse. I think that's going to be cool, but I'm also going to do a winter theme for it. So just getting my rope ready, I'm going to use one of these little snowy wreath ornaments from the Dollar Tree. If you wanted to use this lighthouse year-round, you could skip this step, but I'm doing this to make it look like there's snow at the bottom of the lighthouse. So just using hot glue to remove all of the ribbon and decor that was on there, and this fits in there perfectly, just like that. Now I'm going to start with the rope. I'm going to, if you wanted not to have the snow, you would start at the very bottom of the wreath, but I'm going to start a little bit further up where it meets with the snowy bottom. So I'm going to kind of glue it to the vase and to the ornament that's down below with hot glue. And I'm going to use a lot of hot glue to glue it all the way around. So once I get hot glue on there, I'm just going to start wrapping this. And I wanted this vase to be thicker. So it would be like the same size as the lantern that we're going to put on top to make the lighthouse. And I thought rope would be a perfect way to add some more width to the piece. And so I'm just going to hot glue all around. Normally I would just wrap something and I wouldn't use as much hot glue. But since this was glass, I didn't really want the rope to slide around. And so I want it to be you know, no like openings in between the different layers of rope, and I wanted to stay in place on the vase. I found that this piece was heavy enough. It's not like not tipping over or anything like that, but you could always put some beans or rice inside of it to weigh it down as well if you're worried about yours tipping over. But I found that the glass was pretty heavy enough to keep it weighted down. Unfortunately, one piece of that 11-foot rope was not long enough to go all the way up it. It was really close, but just finishing that off, and we can start and stop a new piece of rope, and you can transition that pretty well with some hot glue, and I usually kind of make that the back of my piece anyway, where I start and stop. But this is what our little rope lighthouse looks like so far. So just gonna open another package of that rope. You guys know I always stock up on this rope. I love it. I haven't bought it by the case, but you can buy both of I think the Dollar Tree rope by the case at dollartree.com. And just gonna go all the way up to the top, right underneath the lip of that vase. And that's gonna make like the perfect size for the little lantern to fit right on top. I need the lantern to be able to fit on there, but also I need it to be able to be removable so that I can turn it on and off or change batteries and such. So that's what we've got so far for our little lighthouse with our little snowy bottom. Now I'm going to go in here and try this on. It fits really good. You just kind of have to get it on there just right, like that. And this is the little lantern. I've seen people make lighthouses with the like square, I guess, one. I've never seen anybody make them with this one, but I thought we could make it work. I just removed the handle. The only thing is it makes like some little black pieces like fall inside. I do end up opening that though later and getting those out. Because make sure, again, that you test these candles before you buy them at the Dollar Tree, because I found like over half the box did not work when I tested them at my store. So now I'm going to paint some stripes on our lighthouse. So I'm just using some painter's tape And I'm going to block off where I can make like 2 wide stripes. I'm going to use painter's tape for this instead of just using the rope as a guide, because I kind of went up it, you know, like in a spiral pattern. So just taping that off and kind of pushing that down into the rope as much as I can so that I won't have very much bleeding when I go to paint that. Normally when I paint rope, I use a chalk paint, but today we're just going to use acrylic. I think it's going to work fine. And this is Caribbean blue that I'm going to use. I'm going to mix that together with some white just to lighten that a little bit. Give it a beachy, wintry vibe, and just going to paint those stripes on there. I'm using one of those little brushes from the Dollar Tree that kind of pushing it down into the fibers of the rope, trying to get in there as much as I can. Doesn't have to be a full coverage on the rope, but trying to get it as much as I can. And then I'm going to do the same thing here for the top. I'm also going to go in here and paint on some windows for our lighthouse to give it more of a lighthouse feel. But let's go ahead and dry this first and peel off the painter's tape. Now, I didn't have too much bleeding. I had a little bit, but I think it's going to be okay. I'm always going for that kind of coastal distressed look. So I'm going to give that a quick dry with my heat gun, and then we can go in and paint that. Just kind of seeing how that's going to look. I decided that I wanted to paint like some like driftwood kind of color windows onto the front. So I'm mixing some Antique Wax by Waverly with some ivory paint, and I'm just going to use a small brush and do like some little arched windows. Super easy to paint. Just one on each one of the stripes. That way you can kind of see them. You could always do this in a grayish color too, if that's more your vibe. But my plan is, I didn't really like the finish on the lantern. So my plan is to take my little distressing brush from the Dollar Tree and that lightened driftwood color. And we're going to distress all over this. So it doesn't really matter what color you got before, the black one or the gray one. This is like a brushed nickel, I guess, kind of looking one. I want some of that dark gray to show through. That'll make it look distressed. So I'm definitely not going for full coverage. And I'm trying to avoid the clear parts of the plastic on there as well. But just giving it a light distress all over to kind of make it look more like a driftwood color. Something that's going to go like way better with my decor. And I think it's going to go nicely with this piece. Now, those little lantern candles, you can open those and replace the little battery operated candle inside. I did have to do that before I took my final picture because it had already died. And so all you have to do is pop it open at the bottom. You can take out the little candle and put a new one in. Now, I wanted to do some rocks, like here a rocky shore around the lighthouse. And so I found these great rocks at the Dollar Tree. They're different colors and shapes and sizes, and I thought we could just hot glue different rocks here, like in a rock pile, kind of how it would look like at a lighthouse or a jetty or something like that. Just kind of picking different colors and kind of layering them up like it's a big pile of rock. I'm only going to do that like on one side here, but I think this really added a nice touch, kind of broke up the uniformity of that little snowy bottom and added a little bit more detail to this project. So just trying to cover this one side, and I do layer them a little bit to give it a little bit more depth. And we have a little rocky shore there now too. Now I kind of wanted them to look like they had snow on them. So using a little white acrylic, I am just dabbing on some little like tiny pieces of snow. It was a little too white for my liking though, so I did go back over it with a little bit of that same driftwood color to kind of dirty them up a little bit. And then I'm going to go back in there with a little bit more white for snow, just to add a little bit more character to our rocks here on our lighthouse. So that's how it's looking right now. And we can put the little battery operated lantern right on top for the top of our lighthouse. It lights up and everything. Super fun. And I think this looks really cute. You could definitely not do the snowy stuff at the bottom and make this a year-round decoration for sure. But this is how it turned out, our little winter lighthouse DIY. So fun. Okay, up next, I wanted to make a snowman, but I wanted to be super creative. So I'm going to use 3 of these little ship wheel photo frames. These are from the summer. I was able to find these at my store. I've noticed that like at my stores, when they don't sell all of the summer stuff, they put it back like in the party section. So that's a tip to look for stuff if you want to buy stuff off season. But I thought these were round, and so they kind of look like round for snowmen, right? So we can do something fun. So just taking the backs off of all of those, and I am just taking out the little staples or prongs that hold the back on the frame. And the back frame of those was actually wood, which was kind of nice. We're not going to use those, but I'll probably save those for another DIY. Now I'm going to go ahead and paint these. I'm just using a makeup sponge from the Dollar Tree and white acrylic paint. I'm just going to go over these a couple of times to get really good coverage. I thought we could put all 3 of them together and make it look like a fun, like coastal snowman. It's going to be kind of abstract. It's not going to have like a face and lots of detail, but I think it turns out really cute. Okay, so I am just going to give those a quick dry and do another coat of white all over. And I want to kind of overlap these a little bit. I was trying to decide which ones I should do on front. I kind of want it to be weighted evenly so that I can stand this up. I kind of tried it like that. I end up using the middle one on the top though. I do want them to have some kind of a background though, so I'm going to use some of this white burlap. I got this on Amazon, but I think it actually shipped from Walmart. And I'm just going to use the back for reference, and I'm going to cut 3 pieces out a little bit larger than the back so that I can attach those to the back of the little ship wheels. So once I get those all on there, I'm just going to cut those all out. And I'm just going to hot glue these to the back of the ship wheel. It's going to give me a really great texture. It's going to make the ship wheels a little bit, see-through. But I like the white burlap. I think that's really pretty. So I'm just making sure it fits on there. I'm just going to do a bead of hot glue just thinly around the inside of the ship wheel. Just gluing that onto the back. And then we're going to do the same thing with the other 2. I've never DIY'd with these ship wheel frames before. I've never known what to do with them, but I'm glad I came up with this idea. I hope that you guys enjoy it as well. And don't forget to hit that like button. Always helps the YouTube algorithm. And don't forget to comment your favorite DIY or just say hello in the comments below. I always love reading all of your all's kind words. Okay, so we've got the burlap on the back of all of our ship wheel. And we can start putting this little snowman together. So this is how I end up doing it. I end up leaving the middle ship wheel on top. I'm going to glue down the little pieces. These do have a top and the bottom. As you can see, there's like a little base on the bottom part. So I'm using that down on all of them. But gluing that top one to the bottom too. And it gives me a nice snowman shape. Now for a scarf, I'm going to use one of these pretty microfiber washcloths from the Dollar Tree. They're nice and fuzzy and a beautiful color of beachy blue. They're not quite long enough, but we're going to make it work. These are going to go great with the other winter DIYs that I've already made using the same fabric. It's going to make them coordinate nicely. And then this color goes great with a coastal decor, but you could always use whatever color your house is decorated in. So just cutting a strip, and I'm also going to cut the little seam off the ends. So it's going to give us a nice little soft fuzzy scarf for our snowman. Now as you can see, it's not quite long enough to go like around like a traditional scarf. But the thing is, you're not going to be able to see the scarf in the back. And so I think we can kind of fake it a little bit by pulling this one down in the front and then kind of overlapping it with this short little piece. And I think it's going to be fine. I thought about making it longer, but I think this works. So I'm just going to glue that to the back. And now our little snowman has a scarf. Now he needs a hat. So I thought we could make a little snowman hat with some of these jumbo popsicle sticks. I get these at Walmart, I think. And I'm going to use 3 for the hat and 1 for like the brim of the hat. So I love working with these because they're so easy to cut to whatever size you want with just a pair of scissors. So I'm going to cut 3 down for the hat. And then I'm going to use 1 for the brim like that. I decided that hat might be a little tall, so I'm going to trim them down a little bit smaller. And there's the top of our hat, and then we're going to cut the other one to be like the brim of the hat. Just like that, just a perfect size hat for this. And then just using hot glue, I'm going to glue the brim to the hat. That's also going to glue all the pieces together and make a little hat for our snowman. At first I thought about covering it with that blue washcloth fabric, but I decided that I wanted to paint it, distress it, kind of make it look driftwood-like. So I'm using some ivory acrylic mixed together with some Antique Wax by Waverly to give myself a nice base coat. And the popsicle sticks are so easy to paint. And then I'm going to take some Antique Wax by Waverly and just working in one direction, I'm just going to distress it lightly, kind of giving a little bit of a weathered wood tone. And now we have a little hat. So I'm just going to hot glue this on his head, like a little bit tilted to the left. And I'm not going to do a face or arms or anything like that. I kind of want this kind of as abstract as possible so you can kind of still see that we're using ship wheels and that this is a really unique little snowman. Now to make it stand up, I'm going to use some of those little mini Jenga blocks from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to glue 1 on each one of those handles, not going all the way to the bottom because I want it to stand up good. So you want it to slightly lean back just a little bit so it's stable and doesn't turn over. But this is how it turned out, our little ship wheel snowman. Talk about unique, right? Very unique. And so that's how he's going to stand up with a little stand that I made. And let me show you how he looks on my console table in my entryway. Isn't he cute? I love it. I love the uniqueness of him. Okay, guys, I have a second YouTube channel. I would love it if you'd come subscribe. It's called Crafty Little Beach, and it's all my DIYs, short versions. Hence Little Beach, and it's like my 1-minute shorts and my 3-minute clips. So I'd love to see you over there. Okay, our next DIY, I'm going to use this great piece of driftwood that I found at the beach the other day. If you're not lucky enough to be able to find any driftwood in your backyard, you could always use any kind of a log or fallen wood that you have in your yard. And we're going to make like a snowflake mobile to hang on the wall using this driftwood. So I wanted different sizes and shapes of snowflakes. So I got some of these hanging snowflakes from the Dollar Tree. And I noticed they had 2 different patterns. So I'm going to use like 2 of that pattern and then 2 of this pattern. Notice how this one's like more square shaped. And these are my large snowflakes. And then for the rest, I'm going to use the little ornament ones that they also have at the Dollar Tree. So I'm going to kind of just stagger those out. I want them to look like they're kind of cascading or falling down my wall. And then I want to use the smaller snowflakes kind of like scattered in between, just kind of trying to arrange those. I'm going to do a total of 8, so 4 rows of 2, I guess. And I'm just using a makeup sponge from the Dollar Tree and some white acrylic paint. It's a great, easy way to paint these thin wood pieces from the Dollar Tree. And we're going to go over all of them. I just want to hang them down. I'm going to use twine from the Dollar Tree to do it. If you didn't want to be able to see this string, you could always use like fishing line or something like that. That would make it kind of disappear a little bit. but I like twine pieces. A lot of times I have like seashells hanging from these in my house, and so this time it's going to be some snowflakes for a winter DIY. So we got those all painted white. I do want them to look a little distressed beachy to match my coastal farmhouse decor, so using a little antique wax by Waverly and a brush from the Dollar Tree, and we're just gonna very lightly distress these, kind of working in one direction, just to kind of give them a little bit more of a rustic coastal feel or vibe, wiping off any excess with a baby wipe. Now, this is the twine I'm going to use. I tried to put this in a needle, but it was a little bit too big. But this is the thinner twine from the Dollar Tree. So we're going to start here at the bottom. The smaller ornaments only have a hole in the top, and the bigger ones have it on the top and the bottom. So I can go through the top and the bottom, stringing the string along the back on those. But I kind of just have to go in from the back on the other ones, and we'll just make that work. And I'm tying that off to our driftwood. Now I'm going to kind of measure just to kind of have some uniformity. I'm going down about 5 inches for the first little snowflake, and I'm going to hot glue that twine to the back so it stays in place. Instead of knotting it, I thought maybe it would hang better if I kind of try to do it a little bit flatter. And then I'm going to go down about 2 inches on the twine for the next ornament. And I'm also going to just secure that with a little bit of hot glue. That one stays in place a lot better because it has like the hole on the top and the bottom. And then I'm just going to keep working my way down until I get to the bottom, about 2 inches between each piece. Now on the very bottom one, I'm just going to tie it off here in the front and kind of let that one dangle down. Now we're going to do the same thing here on the other side, starting on the bottom, going through the front, going through the back of this piece, and just kind of fishing it through. And I thought this would be really fun. What I want to do with this piece is combine like coastal with my driftwood, and you'll see a little bit more, and then my snowflakes. This one I'm going to move this one up about 4 inches, just so they're a little bit different heights. And then I'm going to do 2 inches between each one over here too, securing those with hot glue to the twine. I thought about adding seashells to the snowflakes as well, but I decided against it. I thought it might be a little too much, but you totally could. And then I'm going to tie off the bottom one as well. And this is really cute. You could paint both sides white if you had someplace to hang this where it can kind of dangle down and be visible by both sides. Now I wanted to decorate that driftwood. I just couldn't leave it. So first I'm going to go ahead and put like a little sawtooth hanger that I had and just kind of nail that into the back so we have a hanger for the driftwood. And then I see a lot of people do like succulent garden kind of stuff on driftwood. So I thought maybe we could give our best little Dollar Tree attempt. But I also want to mix in some winter. So I'm going to mix in some pine cones from the Dollar Tree as well. I think I got those pine cones from the Dollar Tree. It may have been the Dollar Spot at Target. But I'm going to use one of these like blue succulents from the Dollar Tree. And I think it goes kind of cool with pine cones. Very similar shapes. But to first start, we're going to use some Spanish moss from the Dollar Tree. And I kind of want to just line the top of the driftwood with the Spanish moss. So just kind of cutting off a piece. Stuff can be a little messy. And hot gluing that to the top. And I'm going to kind of go over almost all the way to the edge with the Spanish moss. I thought that would give us a great place to start building like this little succulent garden on here. I think it's going to be a fun contrast, the like beachy succulents with the pine cones. So I'm just going to glue a pine cone over here, kind of angled off to the side like it's kind of like sitting up there. And attach that with hot glue. Trying to stand it up so it will glue on properly without falling off. And then I'm going to do the little blue succulent over here. At first I was going to use 2 of those blue succulents, but I end up only using 1. So I'm going to do another pine cone. I'm going to attach it right over here, kind of leaving a little bit of an opening there because I want to add some seashells to this project. And then I was trying to decide what succulent to use for the last one. I thought about the grass, but it was a little bit tall. So I do go in with a little smaller succulent that I have from the Dollar Tree and glue that on. I always save these after I use them for things because there's so many DIY projects you can use a little succulent plants from the Dollar Tree for. So we have those all secure. And now we can start adding some seashells. These are just seashells from the Dollar Tree. I'm trying to pick out some interesting ones like cone-shaped things that would be like kind of attached to a old piece of driftwood. Trying to make this look really fun and beachy. And then I thought I would kind of stand this one up here in the back just to give it a little bit of height. Like that. Super cute. And then maybe another seashell over here somewhere. I end up doing it all the way at the end. This is kind of a bluer green seashell. Very cute, like cone shell. And I really like how this turned out. I really like mixing the different themes together, the coastal theme with the winter theme. I think it turned out really fun. So this is what it looks like at this point. Now the only thing, it does have the pine cones, but I was thinking it needed to be a little bit more wintry. So I thought I would use just some white acrylic and one of these chunky brushes from the Dollar Tree. And we're just going to kind of make everything look like it has like a little layer of snow on it. Even the succulents, the pine cones, the seashells, everything. And I thought that definitely gave it like kind of a fun winter vibe. I'm even going to do the driftwood as well. Just dotting that on like a thin layer of snow. And I think that really gave it the final like little winter touch that I was going for. I'm going to do it all along the front as well. This piece of driftwood was a little bit dark, so that is brightening it up a little bit. And I think that's really fun. So that is the final product of our little driftwood snowflake mobile, and this is how it looks hanging on my wall. I love it. I think it's so fun. Now, guys, don't forget to subscribe. We are almost to 11,000 subscribers, and my goal is to hit it by the end of the year, and I think we can do it. But now it's time for the final reveal. Thank you so much for watching.
Cold outside, it tingles in my heart. Breathing air that clears my mind. I'm off for a good start. I hear those jingle bells, people singing about love. It feels like I'm a kid, like I'm forever young. And that's why I want to sing about the Christmas on its way. A reason to hang around and celebrate this day. Everyone's smiling and it's snowing. It's the time of year again. I'm happy you're here, my winter wonderland. I'm walking around making small talk with people that pass me by. I share a laugh, it gives me joy that everyone's having a good time. I hear those jingle bells, people singing about love. It feels like I'm a kid, like I'm forever young. And that's why I want to sing about the Christmas on its way. A reason to hang around and celebrate this day.